has a PDOP email address, and so that's why also you can send it directly to your employees. So I anticipate they're going to see it several different ways to make sure that they in fact see it, and so you can reinforce it.
So a majority of the recreation staff have already had it. Will we be asking them to retake it so we're all on the same schedule? Or if they can provide a proof within the last, I mean, is it easier just, what would be the direction on the people that already have it?
We're going to start as though fresh, since it's
Okay.
kind of inconsistent with the requirements, so everyone will be doing it in 2020. Great. The other thing I just wanted to mention really quick is about Skillsoft training, our online training platform. You're going to be getting some information prior to February 1st. We are moving to, it's still Skillsoft, but it's a new platform that they have, and it's called Percipio. Everyone say it with me because I think it's cool. Percipio. Okay.
Not Prosecco.
Percipio. So anyway, you'll be getting emails, so it'll be from that email exchange. Very similar the way it uses. It's not a big system changeover. You will get a new username, you'll get a new password, which then you'll have to reset, and then it'll be very mirrored to what we do now, where we identify classes. Just some cool things for those of you that are supervisors. You'll have the ability to even go on, and if you wanted to add additional trainings that are from the libraries for specific employees or for your department, you'll have that opportunity to do that. So if somebody needs a little help in an area, you can go ahead and assign that on your own. And you'll have visibility to the system, so you'll know exactly where your employees are, instead of waiting one day for Paula Bickle to print you a report. So you can go online and look at that. Yes?
Will the Skillsoft's trainings be carried over into the Percipio program? What if you're overdue? Not me, but somebody.
I suggest you get 2019 done by January 31st, because then we're going to be coming and talk why you're not done with 2019. So they will not be carrying over from that perspective, but the expectation is to get her done. That's it, I think, right?
And again, the mandatory reporter, the key thing I think is, guys, is that we are in a situation where we see a lot of kids, right? We see kids being interacted with adults on playgrounds, we see them in our buildings, we see them in programs, and when something doesn't look quite right, it's our responsibility to report that. And it's DCF's responsibility to follow through, right? So we are mandatory reporters. We're not investigators, right? But if you see something that looks abusive in nature, you need to make sure that you report that. And again, unfortunately, there are kids who have died at the hands of wrongful adults. And so the reality is that if we can see something and we can possibly intervene, then that's why we're all here, is to make quality of life for all of our kids and our families. So take it serious and make sure that we get that done. Okay, the next one is Genevieve is going to give a quick update from the Wellness Committee.
Hi. Since we're right in the middle of the meeting, I figured I'd bring back a nice tradition. Go ahead, take a stand, take a deep breath, and then feel free to sit back down once you feel like your circulation is moving. It feels good.
Because your wife will tell you to stand up from here.
Exactly. All right, feel free to take a seat. Thank you for doing that. So, 2020 Wellness Committee includes some great returning members, Mike and Sarah, and some new members, myself, Diane and Travis, Stephen, and then Leah Pryor. So I just wanted to give them a little shout out, because if you do have questions about PAP, we have some events coming up. They're going to be a great resource for you if they happen to sit next to you. Of course, you can always email me, reach out to me about any questions that you have. But with the new rollout, there's a couple of different things, and they are great wellness resources for you. So give them a shout if you need them. Speaking of PAP, the big event In January is the wellness screening. It is going to be January 22nd here. From 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I know you may have tuned me out if you've elected not to participate in the PATH incentive this year. If you are a full-time staff member, you are welcome to come to the screening. You don't qualify for the incentive for PATH if you don't elect to use our healthcare provider, but you are still welcome to come to the screening, and some of the benefits are non-monetary there, to just kind of know your biometric stats, and so that's just included, and you're welcome to come. And then also your physician will probably have you do a blood test anyway, so you can kind of knock that out. Come, I'll have some snacks, and so I just wanted to make sure everyone in this room, full-time staff, are welcome. You do need to fast for 12 hours. Please take normal medication as prescribed by your doctor, but you cannot eat food or drink anything except water. So I recommend an earlier start time to avoid the hangries. Yes, what's that?
Lori.
Yeah.
Will you send a calendar invite so we
Yes.
pick different time slots, even for folks that don't participate in the healthcare?
Great question. So, how to sign up?
Insurance.
You go through PATH. They have a really nice little sheet. They can make recommendations on timing, and then you just have to take a very short evaluation to kind of guide you through some things that you might want to think about, whether you're stressed, whether you're sleeping, things like that. It's really short, it's really easy. But you do sign up through PATH. I know that's different from last year. So if you have any trouble with that, feel free to email me, and I will solve your technological issues related to that.
I did it last night on my phone.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
fast.
super easy. Just go to the Paderma site.
So will PATH continue
I'm fancy.
with the new changes that if you don't have the Paderma insurance, you can't participate in the PATH program? Will PATH continue, even if it's not like monetary incentive, but will PATH continue emailing me so that I know to participate in stuff? Or
Yep,
will
so
I be like taken
You can
out?
participate in PATH regardless of whether you elect to choose our healthcare.
Okay.
You just don't receive the incentive. That's the only difference. But like I said, there's lots of non-monetary incentives like your own health. So please, I encourage you to participate still in PATH. It's a really nice program. There's all kinds of things that they gear specifically towards you. So I found it to be really helpful even in my short stint
No, totally.
participating. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah.
And then that was that. Coming in March, we have won a grant through Paderma to participate in a March Madness themed competition, and so just keep an eye out. I'll be sending out some more details on that. It's the big wellness committee event for the year. That's not PATH related, and we have some really interesting prizes. So I'm just gonna leave you with that little teaser. So you have to read my email to find out more.
Is that for all? Is that one for all?
Yep, that's just, yep, exactly right. So, more competition than this, just in this room.
So it is part-time.
Yeah,
Is there
right.
anything that
What
the
again?
healthcare offers part-time employees?
What does
Um,
an agency offer for part-time?
So so Paula is a benefits coordinator for all of things generally in terms of benefits. Maybe Maureen.
Yeah, I mean, you get 20% off all the programs, so the fitness programs, you get the discount on those.
Mm-hmm.
And then any of the lunch and learns and any of those things, anything we produce in-house, you're welcome to participate in. So you brought in guest speakers in the past.
Yeah.
We had a nutritionalist one year. We've had someone come on stretching and ergonomics.
We're going to be
so-
doing some of that stuff again
Yeah.
this year, and I'll make sure to email all staff and to make sure that the full-time staff knows what's accessible. But generally, if it's coming from me, people are accessible. The only thing is the incentive related to Paderma. That has some restrictions there. But generally, wellness committee stuff is open to everybody as an employee, not everybody in the committee. Anyway, great.
Thank you. Again, I do encourage folks to participate. As John V.F. said, I think that not only is it important from a wellness standpoint, but wellness is more than fitness, right? There's the mental health aspect as well. And I do know I have a lot of competitive staff members here. And so getting them in competitive type programs is exciting. So thank you for that information. I'm going to skip that one. So let's do safety real quick. And then we will go back to Greg, and then Melissa will have you guys after that.
Yes, I'm here for the friend. So, for safety committee updates, we have not met in the new year yet. In January, we do our hazard hunters, so they will be out looking for hazards in certain areas and buildings. But in December, we did discuss some new trainings that we we're gonna be doing for staff that they may not get all the time. Things like how serious of an injury or an accident do we fill out an incident accident report? What do we do in a serious emergency? Some staff is, like the lifeguards, are drilled over and over to do certain things when somebody's drowning or if there's any sort of first aid. Sorry, I cannot breathe. What to do, so like things like when somebody hits their head seriously at like a softball game or on the ice, it doesn't happen as often as like the lifeguards jump in and save, so staff want to know exactly what to do when they're faced with a serious emergency that they don't necessarily get every day. So we'll be doing little trainings and those types of things for staff so they feel more comfortable in those situations. And then if you didn't see my email or haven't seen, the outdoor AEDs have been removed until it's typically around March 15th. Again, with the weather, you never know. So as soon as the weather gets a little warmer, which it has been, but it'll turn on us, tomorrow or the next day. So they'll be out until mid-March. And then when they do go back in, you may not get email from me, but somebody will email you. The outdoor AEDs are back in, yes.
I just wanna share something about AEDs and how important they are. It saved my brother's life. He was ice skating, he was playing hockey one day, came off the ice, collapsed, and thank God on the team that he was on, he had a paramedic, and if it wasn't for that AED, he wouldn't be here today.
No, thank you for sharing. I am a huge supporter of AEDs. I have many stories and places where I've worked where they have saved people, so it is very important to know where the AED is in the building, where you work, or buildings that you frequent, and then also the outdoor AEDs that we do have. So everybody point to where the AED is here, if you do not. So if you guys come in the side door, that is where the AED is in that hallway as you enter this building. But in your buildings, you should definitely know where they're located because it's not something that happens every day. But when it does happen, you want to know exactly where the AED or the fire extinguisher, those types of things are at.
Watch and share the video.
Yes, Kate and I are movie stars in the outdoor AED video, so I can push a little link out there.
Did not win an Oscar.
We did not win an Oscar, but it's still really good. It's a good video, you should take a look. So quickly, cold weather, slip, trips, and falls. Eventually we will be getting cold weather. It looks like in a week and a half or so, it'll eventually get cold. This weekend we'll get a little bit of snow, they claim. So just the biggest thing with any safety is just awareness and knowing your surroundings and what you're walking into. So we want to avoid paths that are clearly icy or walking on paths that there is snow covering because we don't know what is underneath that snow. Wearing proper footwear in those slippery conditions. We want to walk with our hands out of our pockets. If we fall, we can catch ourselves and we do not fall flat on our face. Special care when exiting vehicles. I know a lot of people like to hop out of their vehicles, but you should always have 3 points of contact. So do not be hopping in or out of vehicles. So have 2 hands, 1 foot, 2 feet, 1 hand when doing those things. And inside, as people are dragging in snow and those types of things, you want to make sure there's not puddles that people are going to come into the building and be slipping and falling on those types of things. So outside, inside, snow brings a lot of other hazards that we need to be looking out for and cleaning up if they were to be melted and those types of things. I'm going to quickly go over winter PPE because I know I covered that in our November, thinking that there would be winter by now, but there hasn't been. So just always make sure that you're prepared for the weather outside. I look every day. I know I'm crazy, but if you're working outside especially, I know you guys probably check all the time, but just having whatever clothing you're going to need for that day. If you need extra clothing, if you're going to get wet from the snow, water, whatever it is, so that you're not freezing in cold socks or gloves is typically what it is. So just always looking ahead, preparing for whatever could be coming your way. And quickly, I want to go over some just reminders in the new year. Friendly reminders in the new year of some incidents or accidents that may happen and how they should be reported properly. So we have policies and procedures of how to report if you were to be injured or in a car accident or anything like that. Please, 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 if you were to be in an accident or involved in an accident or see an accident, please report it to your supervisor as well as myself. It could be, you could damage the gator, you could damage the Zamboni, anything like that. Any sort of damage should be reported to myself, your manager, and if anybody's in any sort of vehicle accident, we do have to take them for drug testing.
Does a lawnmower and a Zamboni count?
Yes. Any motor vehicle or anything you can sit on and drive counts. So any sort of tap, bump, whatever it is, severity, it needs to be reported and taken care of. And if it is after hours, we know Concentra is not open on Sundays or after 7 o'clock. We have these little cards, which if you do not have these cards, they are for Acosta. They do the drug testing after hours. So they will come out to you to test, because no matter the time of day, whatever day it is, you have to come out and test. So that is blanket for everybody, no exceptions. And then also, if you see something, say something, or see it, own it. If you walk across a building or a vehicle and something looks different from the last time you drove it, report it to me and the vehicle owner, or the fleet point of contact, which is in the binders of all of the vehicles. Even if you think that somebody may have seen it before, I'd rather get 10 reports of the same damage than have myself or somebody else find it in another instant. So please, if anything is damaged or looks out of the ordinary, building, vehicle, whatever it is, report it.
Are you supposed to fill out the vehicle checklist every time you use the car?
Yes. And if for any reason there are missing pages of the vehicle checklist, which I know everybody loves the vehicle checklist, please, again, if you see something, say something. If it's missing that date, like myself or whoever the point of contact for that vehicle is, that the page is missing. But yes, you have to drive it you have to fill it out every time you drive. Even if you're the second, third, fourth person driving it for that day, you need to fill it out. There's a multiple drivers section. So you don't want to be on the hook for something that you did not do. I'm not trying to hurt you. Please do. And tell your employees we're not here.
That's right. And again, I just want to reinforce a lot of what Kelsey said. I mean, the reality here is that, someone near and dear to me always uses the phrase that the cover-up is worse than the crime, right? And so the reality is, if you are in an accident, you need to report it. There are more severe consequences if you try to cover it up, and then we find it out, right? So, I mean, the key is, it's called an accident for a reason, right? It wasn't intentional. If it was intentional, it wouldn't be called an accident. So if an accident occurs, you need to report it. We all have responsibilities, and if you know you're supposed to sign off on a checklist and the checklist isn't there, you don't get to say, well, it's not here today, so I guess I just won't fill it out, right? You gotta fill it out. It's your responsibility. And it's also not your decision as to whether or not someone goes and takes a drug test, right? The reality is, if they are on a motor vehicle, I don't care if it's a Zamboni, I don't care if it's a lawnmower, I don't care if it's a minibus, if it's a van, you will be going for a test. And the reality is that you shouldn't have any concerns, right? The reality is that my CDL drivers, you know that even though they legalized marijuana here in the state of Illinois, you are still not allowed to participate in that because it is a federal crime, right? So the reality is that I tell Paula,